been a miraculous time.
So here's a question for you. Can movies and TV make us believe in miracles? I think in a way, yeah. I got to thinking about this while rewatching Netflix and Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass, this incredible horror show about a small town centering around characters and their differing ideas around faith and religion. Now, I'm not a Christian, though I've studied the religion, and how Midnight Mass plays with Christianity is to me very fascinating. And there's one moment in particular that I think was both so simple and groundbreaking at the same time. But to understand it, we need to talk a bit about film and the medium's history. And the first concept there that Midnight Mass is using so effectively is the suspension of disbelief.
Sheriff, please, Lo and behold.
To properly relate to and understand any fictional story requires a level of suspension of disbelief. Meaning when you're watching, say, Harry Potter and you see wizards cast spells and fly on broomsticks, you might know rationally that these things are not possible. You also very well know that none of this is really happening, that this all was actors standing in front of cameras playing pretend. But you choose to ignore those things because you know that if you suspend and stop those triggers of disbelief, you trust that the movie will reward you with a satisfying narrative experience if you buy into it. So you catch on to the rules of reality in this world on screen, perhaps one with magic, and you build a new understanding of reality so that you can follow what is happening on screen. But can a filmmaker then take the faith that you've given them, that rewiring of reality that you've trusted them with, and then show you something so unexpected, something that maybe visually wouldn't be that remarkable in real life, call that an act of God within the story, and then maybe even for just a second, have your brain believe in real life that you've just seen evidence of the divine? That thought is what takes me back into Midnight Mass. And again, like any work of fiction, the show quickly has you buy into this new reality of a small religious island town. There aren't any wizards here, but you come to believe that people live in this place and have this quiet, tight-knit community. And so it's with that understanding of this world that we begin to interpret some of the strange things that began happening as eerie, as incredible, as perhaps otherworldly. Hundreds of dead birds lying on the beach, a gangly creature running in the night, missing people here and there. This is all placed on top of well-done horror storytelling, but again, one moment really stands out as the best use of all of this, and that's the miracle of Lisa Scarborough.
Come on.
What is wrong now? Stop it.
It's not fun.
Lisa is introduced as this girl who is bound to her wheelchair, not being able to walk after an accident on the island. However, she is very committed to her faith and a regular church attendee, until the one day in Mass that changed everything for this island. Because on that day, while the town's new and mysterious priest is offering communion, suddenly he commands Lisa to rise and walk over to him to accept the bread. And the others look on confused, knowing that she can't walk, but as the priest insists she rise, everyone gets angry with him, pleading him to stop insulting her like this, until we see Lisa's face, who is not insulted, and then we watch as this happens.
Oh.
She pushes up from her chair and walks over to accept the communion, as everyone gasps in shock, and then the screen punches to black and the episode ends, because the narrative understands the jaw-dropping power of what just happened here. Now again, what's incredible here is that if we were to normally just watch someone get out of a chair and walk somewhere, that is not by itself anything remarkable. But because of our buying into the reality of this show and believing Lisa as a character who cannot walk, witnessing this happen while we were invested in the world of the show reads to us in this moment as a miracle of God. And witnessing that took me about 70 years into the past for another movie that came out then, which was the last time I'd seen a miracle like this on screen. In college, I was a religion major, but I had then, as I do now, a love for visual storytelling, and I thought there wouldn't really be that many people at the cross of entertainment and religion. But turns out there was a whole class called Religion in Modern Film. And during one lecture, our professor made a point of discussing the use of miracles and miracle narratives in specifically Christian writing and media to try and bring people to the faith. Again, I'm not Christian, but I found this use of the medium so interesting, because we had all these artists who were Christians who saw the modern age as one of faithlessness, of people needing miracles like those of Jesus centuries ago to believe again. So people decided to take matters into their own hands and make the miracles within their art. And with film being a relatively new medium at the time, the power of showing miracles actually happened before your eyes through the art was a new possibility entirely. And that's an opportunity that the 1955 film Ordette latched onto.
Die or die.
Now, this movie is old and dense, but it is doing something very interesting. See, the story centers around varying and combating understandings of faith. The patriarchs of the two central families, Morton and Peter, are Christian men, but consistently bicker over what type of Christianity is best. Also, Morton's adult sons range from one being an outright atheist to another believing he is literally Jesus. And all around, there's this sense that in the modern age, faith has diminished and the miraculous works of God, like used to happen in the Bible, are far away and gone. But miracles are what is needed now to bring people back to faith. And it's in that context that the movie does something pretty incredible. Because at the film's end, Morton's daughter-in-law tragically dies of childbirth, and Johannes, the son who believes he is Jesus, says at her funeral that she can come back to life, that it is possible if only the family believes in him. That is, if they put their faith in Jesus. And while the adults remain stubborn, refusing to accept this irrationality of a crazed man, the dead woman's daughter agrees to believe, and it's in that moment that this happens. As the film remains completely silent and everyone stares on in wonder, the dead woman rises from her coffin and re-enters the world of the living. Just as Midnight Mass punched to black because it wanted us to savor how groundbreaking its moment was, the movie stays completely silent here and avoids all other action to put the utmost focus on what is this movie's climax. And you have to understand, when this happened back when this movie came out, something like this was groundbreaking. Because to lapsed Christians, they had always read about or heard about the miracles of God, water into wine, and yes, Jesus rising someone from the dead, but they could never claim to have seen a miracle. But now with this new medium of film, suddenly they had just witnessed a miracle before their eyes. Now audiences then, just as now, of course knew that this was fiction, that this was just actors pretending in front of cameras. But we go back again to suspension of disbelief here, where audiences chose to accept the reality of a film to understand its story, and through that act of faith they found their mind now believing, even for a moment, in some roundabout way, that they were witnessing a miracle. And in a world where God himself no longer has his representative enact miracles among the people, could this be enough now on film to convey that same impact and bring people back to the faith? Well, this film might have thought so.
Pain, yes. And then the fear was drained from his body. It was just drained.
Now, I have no idea if Mike Flanagan took any inspiration from this moment in Ordette for Midnight Mass. But, you know, I think this show does something even more fascinating with their miracle moment. Because whereas Ordette positions the moment as the happy ending, as in a way, proof that people should return to God and strengthen their faiths, Midnight Mass goes on to ultimately reveal that this moment wasn't a pure miracle of God, but something much more sinister, with the story perhaps in a way going on to criticize even the audience for putting their faith so easily in what appeared to be a miracle. That is, whereas Ordette and films like it explored how the film medium could be used to support Christian ideology, Midnight Mass, 70 years later, uses its story to critique and challenge that use of the medium. So movies and TV, through their fiction, ask us to suspend our usual commitments to rationality, to accept things we might not otherwise believe in, with the promise that doing so will come with some greater benefit in the end. So in that regard, storytelling in a lot of ways asks for our faith in the same way a religion might. To me, this means religion and film have a natural overlap that makes stories that cover that topic a very salient choice, and it's why I'll always be interested in movies that choose to tackle it. Midnight Mass is an incredible example of that. It has moments like the one I talked about and more that I'll be thinking about for a very long time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.